question number 2. This is from Jason. What advice would you offer to somebody that is going to help coach for the first time?
That's interesting. So there's a lot of things that are going to happen. I'll let you speak from your standpoint in a second,
Sure.
because you'll have a different perspective on it than I am. So one of the things that will definitely happen is you're going to get into the coaching spot and you're going to feel some level of insecurity. I almost can, unless you're completely delusional. Anytime we step into a new place of status as humans, we always are going to be shaken up a little bit, and we're always going to experience some insecurity. It's just normal.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times what we do in order to fight against that insecurity is we try to build ourselves up to then to basically use that as a crutch. So for instance, if we feel insecurity in a particular way, we might try to achieve some level of success in a particular area. And we use that as our crutch to help us stand up and say, no, like, I'm not insecure. Look how good I am. I've done all this stuff. And we can use this as a way to show how good I am, right? I'm a good person. I'm a doctor. I'm a good person. I have $100,000 in the bank cash. I'm a good person. I, have built this business, or I've won these medals, or I've done these. We try to use our accomplishments then to sort of hold us up to sort of help shield the insecurity. And so one of the things I would say as a coach, remember that your job is to make sure, going back a little bit, to hell with your insecurities. Okay. As a coach, your job is to support those people. And the reason why I bring this up is because a lot of times coaches, because of their insecurity, will lose sight of what they should be doing. If you really want to help those people, you should be focused on making sure that you're giving them something that they can use like tomorrow. You're giving them something that's going to be usable for them at some point and is going to be helpful for them. I've seen coaches in jiu-jitsu go in when they're on the newer side. I was kind of guilty of this a little bit too. And they want to wow people. They want to get in. Let me show you these cool techniques. But then look around. It's like, none of these people are going to use this because, one, this technique's not a good move for these beginners or these whatever. And two, this move might just suck anyway. And it's like a social media technique where it looks cool, but it's not going to be more highly effective. And there's a time and place for those. But again, as a new coach, you're probably not going to be delving into those. You're going to be giving people in the meat and potatoes, right? So that's what you should be focused on, and helping people do that kind of stuff. And trust me, when you teach someone something and they're able to use it like immediately, you will then take a new place in their head, because they go, man, like, Mark showed me this really cool technique. Mark only gives me good stuff. Right. Whereas, like, I remember, like, there was a particular coach that I worked with back in the day that used to show like cool, fancy looking techniques. I never hit any of them. So I never valued his time. I was like, I don't like this. But then I had another coach who would show like the most basic friggin' moves, but he had good details for him. And then I was able to go hit those moves the next day. So I made every single one of his classes. And so again, you will help people by giving them the best basic stuff that you can, or the most effective stuff that you can, rather than wowing them. And sort of to kind of make a parallel here, it's like when I see a coach who coaches like lifting of some sort, like maybe, coaches people through strength training and things of that nature. And then because they're insecure about their position, they will risk their clients' health and safety by trying to get them to max out on some lift that they shouldn't be doing. And they're like, look what my client did. He deadlifted X amount of weight or whatever. Like, yeah, but he almost broke his back, spinal. And then, they did a squat and their knees are waving all through there. And like, you can just tell that person shouldn't be handling that weight. They risked that person's health to sort of give their own insecurity a boost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I would just be mindful of that. Like, when you check that at the door, like, nobody cares that you're insecure. Nobody notices that you're insecure. Nobody's going to notice that. Focus on helping the people as best you can by giving them the best stuff that you have available, and try to make it the most effective things that you have on your arsenal if your coach is not giving you a curriculum of any sort to follow. So this way people will come to know you as this coach that gives them good stuff.
Yeah. I think that, you hit everything on the nail on the head, but I've got a couple things as, a newer coach.
Yeah.
And a big mistake, the thing that you said first was probably one of the most valuable things, is keep it simple. Like, I think a kiss, keep it simple, stupid, right? So keep it simple. Number one, like, and the other thing is don't overwhelm people with techniques. Just because
Mhm.
you know a shit ton of techniques doesn't mean you need to show everything. You have to try to, because like you said, there's a plethora of skill sets, right? You got, you could have a brown belt down to a brand new white belt, and you have to try to encompass everyone, give something to everyone in some way. Like you said, give them something they can use, whether it's a detail or even just a basic kind of general idea. I think that's very important. One of my big mistakes was I tried to show too much.
Mhm.
I have all this information. I want to share it all. You get so excited as a new coach. You want to kind of give everybody the best stuff.
Mhm.
You want them to leave your class being like, man, that was awesome. But sometimes you do that and you show them way too much stuff, and then they walk out and they don't know anything. Like a seminar, or a seminar with way too many techniques.
Mhm.
So I think that keeping it very simple, and for me, like if you're just assisting as a coach, like talk to the coach, the head coach, and be like, hey, what are we going over? Can we run through some stuff, some details? Make sure you're prepared. Like I love to prepare for stuff. Like if there's a technique maybe that I'm showing, I want to make sure I run it through my head. I may even like drill it on my own and just to see if there's any details that I'm missing, right? Because sometimes you'll do it intuitively and you'll knock it out of the park. You'll do it perfectly, but sometimes teaching it is going to be a totally different thing. You may forget a hand placement or a position or a kind of a key detail. So I think reviewing it, maybe even taking some notes, whatever, could be helpful. But if you're just assisting, find the key elements that the coach wants to cover and kind of go over that, so you kind of know if you get a question, you'll know kind of how to address that.
Mhm. And here's another thing for you too. As a new coach, you're going to get asked questions that you're not going to have answers for.
Hmm.
And that's okay. Don't bullshit people. A lot of times I've seen coaches where they try to basically bullshit their way through a question and it's like apparent. You can just look at them and you know that they don't have a really good answer. Or I've even seen where coaches have sort of almost criticized the student for not, just going along with the move or whatever.
Hmm.
So with that, if you get asked a question that you do not know, it's okay. Go and tell the student, say, hey, listen, I'm going to look this up for you. I'm going to do a little bit of digging and research and I'll get back to you. And the next time you have class with that student, get up and show them. I remember one of the first times I showed the Darce choke as a coach, one of the guys was having trouble with the move. And it's because his arms were not incredibly long, and so it
Hmm.
was very difficult for him to finish. And so I didn't really have a good answer for him at the time. And so I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look it up and I'll get back to you. So I went looking up watching some videos. I talked to a couple other coaches that I knew to see if they had any details,
For sure.
did some digging. And I came back to him the next week. I said, hey, here's how to finish that Darce choke we were looking at last week. He didn't look at me and say, oh man, Chewy is not the end all be all. He doesn't know everything. He was blown away by the fact that I actually remembered to check it out. And I think that a lot of times when you show, I don't want to say vulnerability, but when you're just human with your students, I think it goes a long way. When you don't try to act perfect, like you've got it all figured out, you're willing to listen to students, you're willing to listen to their questions. And when you don't know, act like you don't know. I've even had students, this is not that long ago, this happens all the time. I've had students where I do a move a certain way. And then one of the students will go, hey, Chewy, I kind of like to do it this way. Check this out. And they'll show me a detail and I'll look at it and go, huh, well, that way's, I think, superior to my way. So let's go ahead and come back and teach it that
Hmm.
way.
Yeah.
And so I think that's another thing. Like you don't have to have it all figured out. It's okay. Think of yourself not as the mystical, all-knowing guru, but rather a curator of information that's going to like pick out and bring the best that you can to those people. And when someone brings something better to the table, you're willing to put that up there. So again, if you were an art curator, you're curating the best stuff you can for people to view. And if something better comes along, you'll put that on the wall just as fast.
Hmm.
And just think of it that with your techniques rather than trying to be completely infallible and all-knowing.
Yeah, I mean, we're never gonna know everything. We're never gonna know all the techniques in jiu-jitsu. There's lapel stuff that you could go down a rabbit hole and learn forever. And there's no-gi stuff, leg locks, and all that. You just got so many different avenues, and then you got to look at how it fits to a body style or a body type or an experience level, right? You're not gonna
Mm-hmm.
teach certain complexities to somebody that's brand new. You might just try to break down the very basic technique principles to them that can kind of assist. And, you know, so it's just kind of, it's a skill. Teaching is a skill, you know, and it's, there's a lot of, there's some nuance to it as well, because not everybody learns the same way too. So, I think it's a fun thing. It's interesting. I love teaching. It's very rewarding, and it's very, it's great, man. You have a great class and people kind of do the move, you know, always like, hey, did anybody hit the move today or the technique we were working? And it's always fun to kind of see light bulbs go off and things like that. So just go for it. Have fun. It's a great process to be able to kind of give back a little bit too.
That's right. Absolutely.